I really have to cut up on every subject that I missed last year just by being sick. If you feel my voice is a bit weird, I'm just getting better, but I got sick last week, so it's still a bit there. Just bear with me, because we just did the PRB01 video. If you haven't checked it out, consider doing it, because PRB01 is gonna have so much alternate art. It's actually insane. You need to pre-order this set. I'm not joking. Go check the video. It's recommended in the card. But we also have some massive news about OP09. So now we need to talk about that. So first off, I haven't talked about this on the channel yet. We have the box art through the boosters that you can see right here. Of course, featuring the 4 new Emperors. So if you're not caught up to the end of 1.0, spoiler, I guess. And we know the name of the set now is properly spelled Emperor of the New World. Hold on, let me move a bit on the side because my head was kind of in the image. The English date is set for December. As of right now, we know this because this is going to be the anniversary set, and the anniversary is in December. So you got plenty of time to set up for OP09, which is good because actually you should pre-order right now. So if you haven't yet, get in touch with your local. But as we tend to do, we get a trailer with some information, so let's look at this. Also again with the sound cut off because I don't want to risk a copyright strike, let's be honest. Perfect, sound's already off. So you got a very cool scene from the end of Wano, of course. If you know this scene, you know how intense it was when Shanks made that bold statement to Ben Beckman. I'm not gonna translate it for you, you can use Google Trad if you want. But now let's dive into the interesting part of that trailer. So we're gonna have presented to us one SR and the alternate art leader for each color. So we had Lim from Odyssey, we have Nico Robin, and we know her demon form is gonna come. And we also have, of course, the 4 Emperor as leader in this set. So we're gonna have Buggy with the cross guide support, we're gonna have Teach with his insane new effect, we're gonna have Monkey D. Luffy in Gear 5 laughing, and we're gonna have Shanks with his second in command, Ben, and of course some very cool animation to just get the drip off of Shanks to showcase his alternate art, which is, it's pretty cool. It's a very cool card, I have to say. As you can see here, the set is scheduled for the 31st of August in Japanese. And again, we're expecting this set in December for the English version of the game. Before we get into the alternate art leader and all the leaders effects from OP09, can you please consider subscribing to the channel? Most of the viewers that I get are not subscribed to the channel, and I'm really trying to grow and be able to fully monetize this channel. So if you could lend me a hand or a thumb, that would be very cool of you. Also make sure to like this video if you liked the presentation that I'm making, and of course subscribe to the channel if you're interested in the One Piece card game. We do regular news video on the game every time there's new stuff coming out, but we've also made kind of a bold ultimate guide to the One Piece card game, and we actually have a deck building guide coming out soon, from beginner to advanced. So if you're interested in the game, you want to play, you want to know the news about the game and see cool products related to it, consider subscribing to the channel and sharing the channel with your friends so that at least you have a friend to play along. Back to the leaders. So first we have Shanks, of course, the man himself, being the red leader of the set. So we have a monocolor leader red with the tag Yonko and red hair pirate, and the very simple effect that I'm very disappointed that Shanks doesn't have something bigger than this, but we have to see the possibilities once we get the other cards in the set, because right now it's a simple once per turn. You may activate this effect when your opponents attack, so there's also like some doubt about the translation right now, and you can give up to one of your opponent's leader or character minus 1,000 for the turn. So there's 2 schools really with that effect, and we've discussed this with the community at our locals. The way I understood Shanks' effect is that you may activate this when your opponent's attack, so it's on your opponent's turn only, so you can defend with the effect. You reduce the power from one character or the leader by 1,000 for the turn, and that's it. That's once per your opponent's turn. The other school of thought is that since it says you may activate when your opponents attack, it means that you can technically also activate when you attack. There's no restriction for that. So we don't know which one is yet, because then the effect will be more offensive. Of course, you can still activate this during your opponent's attack, meaning that every turn, yours and your opponent, you can nerf one of his cards by 1,000. That would make this leader much more interesting than the way I understood his effect, but I mean, it's still nothing to write home about. So we need to see proper support with red cards for this leader before we can definitely say if this is a good leader or not. But anyway, love the artwork. We're back to manga style portraits, by the way, on alternate art leader, so very cool card. And if I ever get this as an alternate art, I'm curious to see if they did some crazy texture effect on his eyes. That would be like so dope. The next leader, which sadly there is no debate about, nobody is gonna care about this leader, is gonna be Lim from One Piece Odyssey. Now, she's a dual color leader, meaning she has 4 lives. And the thing about that leader is it's already bad with the very first part of the effect, which is that your character enter play as rested. I mean, you're playing your character, usually they are active. You cannot attack with them, but they're active, meaning they cannot be targeted unless your opponent has some crazy removal. That's just fair. But now when you play a character, they enter rested. Can you imagine trying to play blockers with that effect? You cannot. So already this is to me like something very crazy that they're trying to do. I'm not sure of the viability of this leader, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be like playable at all. But anyway, the rest of the effect is an activate main. Once per turn, you may rest 3 of your Dawn and set up to 1 of your Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested. Then you can play a cost 5 or lower Odyssey type character from your hand. You need Odyssey character in green and purple. So far we've had some in red, I believe. So yeah, a bit of a stretch on that. We need to see what's gonna be included in OP09, and we don't know that yet. So we really cannot say if this is gonna be good and some crazy effect is gonna overturn the fact that they're gonna enter play rested. But so far, 4 life and you cannot play character active. That's a very big downside for me. Definitely not a leader I would bet on. And now let's look at the underdog, most players' favorite, Buggy the Clown. We finally have a proper Doke no Buggy leader that we can finally play, and the effect seems very cool and very useful. We need to see support, but we already saw a bit of support for this, so we're gonna see where this goes, but it seems very cool. So we have Buggy, of course, Yonko Cross Guild. If you didn't know that yet, sorry, one spoiler, I guess. And his effect is an activate main. You may rest 5 Dawn and discard 1 card from your hand, and you can play up to 1 character with a Cross Guild type from your hands. Now, this is an expensive effect, but we already saw a 5 cost Crocodile with the Cross Guild type that you can play with this effect, and that Crocodile plays other cards for free. So you're gonna be playing multiple things with that 5 initial costs. So I'm tempted to say that this is gonna be a very good leader with a lot of inertia. That being said, there's a bit of a caveat to that, but we can only get back to it once we talk about the other leaders. And I'm fairly sure you're gonna see exactly what I mean. But Baggy, very cool. The alternate art, of course, is like super funny. This is Baggy we're talking about. He's always laughing his ass off, but we know that he's crying inside about the pressure that Mihawk and Crocodile are putting on him. Honestly, a very cool leader that I am very tempted to play in OP09. Well, now we have Monkey D. Luffy, the Gear 5 version, Sun God Nika, call it however you like. It's a purple and black leader, dual color. We have 4 life, and we have the Yonko and Straw Hat Pirate type for this leader. With an effect done X1, your character have +1 cost. And that is a mechanic that has been introduced to the game with the starter deck 14, which is not yet out for the English version, but is properly out for the Japanese version, whereas you would boost the cost of some cards instead of reducing it in order to activate some crazy effect. And the second part of his own effect is actually that during your turn, once per turn, when 2 or more cards are returned to your down deck, you can set up to 1 of your cards from your down deck as active and up to 1 card from your down deck as rested. So we have some down minus mitigation with that effect, being of course the purple part of the leader's effect, and it's going to be super useful for this leader because purple tends to down minus constantly, so if you do not have a good ramp, you're pretty much done. So having this in the leader is already fantastic. At the very least, you're gaining at least 1 down per down that you get back into your down deck. And as for the black part, we need to see cards that maybe get us to do some crazy thing with higher cost cards from our hands or maybe on the board. But already a very cool and interesting leader that you should definitely keep an eye on, especially because, I mean, it's Sun God Nika. What are you gonna do? Next leader we're gonna have is our favorite archaeologist, Nico Robin of the Straw Hat Pirate. She's also a dual color leader with the purple and yellow colors, and that is very interesting because she's got Banish. So already this is something that we are really interested in. Having Banish on a leader sounds like super fantastic. Now all we need to do is give her maybe double attack and possibility restand, and that would just be busted. But the other part of her effect is when attacking, you may trash 1 card with a trigger from your hand. If you do so, you can add up to 1 card from your down deck and set it as rested. So what you're basically doing here is giving up cards in your hand to be able to ramp, and that's something that might be powerful in the right hand and played the right way. Remember, she's purple, so she's gonna need some ramp, and you've got some ramp built into your leader already, so that reduces the need to have it in your deck, which is of course an undeniable advantage in this type of decks. So I'm very curious to see what we can come up with. She's also yellow in color, so she's also got access to some of the cool yellow cards that we had regarding life manipulation and trigger, so she might be a very cool leader to keep an eye on during the OP09 meta. But as for me, nobody can change my mind about Teach. I think, personally, that's just me right now, I think Teach is gonna be the best leader in the format for multiple reasons. And I also think that Teach is gonna shake the meta in a way that we haven't seen since Whitebeard. Now let's talk a bit about his effects. So March of the Teach for Emperor Blackbeard Pirate, solid black color leader, so 5 life, 5k power, and the first part of his effect is your on-play ability don't activate. So on-play ability are a no-go in your deck. You will have to build your deck different because your own on-play ability will never activate with this leader. So stuff like play this on-play, look at the 5 cards from the top of your deck, your common searcher, not gonna work. Your usual on-play reduce the cost and on-play KO X or Y, like the classical Ina and Lucci combo that we've seen in black, that's a no-go as well. They are not gonna work. They're not gonna work for Teach, but they're also not gonna work for your enemy. Because the second part of his effect is an activate main. You may trash 1 card from your hands and ulti the end of your opponent's next turn. Your opponent's on-play ability don't activate. So now you're blocking every other deck in the universe from having on-play ability. We just talked about POB01 in the previous video where we talked about the manga rare Nami being a thing for POB01. She was the searcher for the Straw Hat crew for the longest time. She's meta, she's a waifu, she's a manga rare, and she's useless facing Blackbeard because her effect is an on-play effect. Every card you can think of that has been meta in some sort of way has had probably an on-play effect. those now will be completely negated when facing Blackbeard. And this is literally a leader that can take one of the core mechanics of the game and say, you will never get to play this again. We will have to navigate around Blackbeard for OP09 meta, and I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt that this effect is completely cracked, and quite honestly, I love it. Because not only does the leader look dope, but the power that this leader has is also on par with Blackbeard's power in the manga. The Darkness Fruit does exactly that. It absorbs other people's power. I mean, that's very interesting, and that is a leader that's gonna be a hard check to pretty much every other deck. It can block all the established combo in the game. I mean, think about Red-Green Law that has been such an issue in the past, and Red-Purple Law that is starting to becoming one with the release of Black Maria in OP08. Those are relying on effects to be carried out. Now, you block part of those effects, at least the on-play effect, you're already cutting in half all the possibilities that they have. Now, I originally haven't planned on talking about one of the cards, the SR. I was just gonna my plan was just to talk about the leaders here, but I think I need to mention at least one other card, and you're gonna see in a second why I think this leader is gonna be completely cracked, because we already know the translation of the SR Marshall D Teach that is gonna come in OP09 in the black color. So I just want to address this card to just drive home how much this leader is gonna be completely broken. So we have the character Marshall D Teach. It's a 10 cost 12k power character of the 4 Emperor and Blackbeard Pirates, and already he's got a blocker skill, so that's a 12k blocker. That's insane. If you cannot KO this with a card, an effect or something, how are you gonna get past that blocker? And now you had on top of that he's gonna activate main once per turn if your leader has the type Blackbeard Pirates, and if this character was played this turn, up to one of your opponent's leader's effects are negated for the rest of the turn. So your opponent, his leader effect gone. Not only that, but up to one of your opponent's character effects are also negated until the end of your opponent's next turn, and that character cannot attack. So you're blocking the leader's effect, you're blocking potentially a big effect on the board, and you're preventing a character from attacking. All of that while having a 10 cost 12k blocker on the board. That is insane. If you had any doubt, this is the leader that I am personally gonna play in OP09. I mean, I can still try Baggy because the leader seems cool, but already the effect of the crocodile that go with the Baggy, the Assar crocodile that we saw in the trailer, is got a non-play effect. So what is he gonna do facing Teach? I mean, it's already a done game, guys. But do let me know down in the comment section below which is your favorite leader from OP09 so far. Remember, the set is coming out in December, so you got time before the set comes out. We're gonna have the Japanese drip marketing soon, so we're gonna have a very good look at all the cards from OP09 before the set even reach all parts of the world. But do not make the mistake of not pre-ordering in advance. It's coming out in December, pre-order now. I want this game to be accessed by the most people possible, and if it means telling you guys every time I make a video that you should pre-order the set right now, then I will. But in the meantime, there's also PRB01 and the starter deck 15 through 20 that are gonna come out in November. So if you want to know more about that reprint set and those 5 starter deck, check out those 2 videos right here.